Welcome back, terrestrials. In this episode, we're doing 1987's Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Yeah, so widely considered by some as the best Nightmare on Elm Street film. I'm sure that there will be a little bit of a debate about that in the comment section. But Jerry, what did you grade this one?
It's an S.
It's an S, yes.
It's an S.
Yeah, I'll give
Simple
this one an
answer.
S. Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna get like well, the one thing about it that no, it's an S. It's great. They took like when we were talking last time about the darkness and the oh wait a minute, what are you giving it? S?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I thought I interrupted you. Well, but we were talking about the darkness in the second one and the trickster element in
Mhm,
the first one.
mhm.
Like he's not really like a badass in the first one. He's just more like a trickster that kills people.
Right.
They took both of those together and they kind of blended them together to, put Freddy Krueger in the original idea,
Hmm.
back on path, but also that darkness from the second one kind of like is there and
Yeah.
kind of like impresses itself. And there is some goofiness, but there's just a shit ton of dark in this. Or it is fucking just dark. There's goofy shit, but it's way darker than the first one.
Yeah, I think the further that we get into the storyline, the darker it gets. I mean, the whole idea of his conception, um, the further the story gets into who he was as a person,
Oh yeah.
what happened
I
to
was about to
him.
say, motherfucker,
Uh,
this is the peak. Okay,
yeah, 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 no, no,
we're gonna be going a little down from
well,
here,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. But I think it gets darker. But again, see, this is the thing. These movies are so creative because you already have this insanely creative idea of this guy kills you in your dreams. He's
Mhm.
dead. He's in dream world. He kills you in your dreams. Okay,
Right.
cool. That's a genius idea. Here, let me give you more genius. This girl can pull you into her dreams.
Yeah, they start
So,
working more with the kids.
well, yeah, but I mean, it's not even, I'm specifically not talking about the kid. I'm talking about the idea of there's a person now that
Oh,
instead of going the psychic route like Hellraiser and Friday 13th, um, they go, this person is his equal. She
right.
can pull you into a dream and make you, you know, be a part of it in whatever manner
Mhm.
it ends up being. But so she is the perfect counterpart to Freddy.
Right.
Um, and this is one of the few movies that I can stand Patricia Arquette in. Her voice just bothers me. Her face, it's not my favorite.
Mhm.
But I like her in this role. I like all the kids in this roles. They're good. This one is the first time we get real good nudity. We get 80s butt and boobs. So
Babes. Yeah.
boobs. But yeah, I think that this one it's a good, like you said, combination of the darkness, like the idea, like the whole like walking, like the marionette puppet thing,
With your
like
veins.
yeah, the veins and stuff. I mean, everything about this is creative. I couldn't wait for that wheelchair kid to get killed. It's just so many
That I'll
good
say
things in
is
this
weak.
movie. That it was
Like
weak. the,
it's
some of the
weak.
some of the kills were pretty weak. Like, what's her name? Oh damn, what's her name? Taryn, the drug addict. Like
Are
even
you fucking
her,
kidding me? That's like the best part. Let's get
it's the best
high.
part, but it's a very weak kill. There's not a lot of fight that she's supposed to be the badass. Like
Right.
Kincaid's the strong one, but she's the badass, right? She even says it.
Oof.
In my dreams, I'm beautiful and badass. Click,
Right. I'm
you know,
beautiful and bad.
but she doesn't put up hardly any fight.
Well, yeah, I
She
mean,
basically is like,
Freddie
no,
knows
okay, shoot me
all
up.
of their
Like,
fears.
yeah, but
Like Joey's a pervert. Fucking like Kincaid doesn't like tight spaces.
mhm,
Like
Claustrophobia.
classic, yeah, he doesn't like that. Like when they
Mm.
put him in the room and he starts huddling himself, what do you call it?
Philip is
Like,
a sleepwalker. Like they all
right,
have their ailments, I understand. But she went at him. She was like, "Come on, motherfucker," and then stabbed him once, and then immediately was like, "Okay, shoot me up." Like
yeah.
it just
She,
it was
uh,
very lackluster. It was a good build up because she's one of the people in the group. Like, the wizard boy ain't gonna handle Freddy.
no,
Patricia Arquette and Nancy don't have anything for him. Maybe Kincaid, maybe. Philip's already dead. And the other guy, the pervert, like he's bait, essentially. Freddy gets him
yeah,
immediately. He would have got
immediately,
me too, because that chick was hot. But the only two people that were going to stand a chance was Taryn and Kincaid.
right.
And Kincaid hadn't ran into him yet. And Taryn's supposed to be the one that when I think about Taryn, I think about the black dude from Manhattan that
Okay,
boxes Jason right to the edge. I wanted to see her put up a good fight against
right,
Freddy.
right.
That's what that was missing for me. That was
No,
the longest
nope.
explanation on how
Freddie
that.
pulled those needles out and like her arms were doing that. That wasn't part of
Right,
the dream. Like
right, right.
just the little
Yeah,
dope
yeah,
queen was like,
yeah,
no, and the track marks are
yeah.
fucking.
Little buttholes.
But yeah, I mean like yeah, uh going to the marionette puppet, which I will say is probably one of the darkest things.
Mhm,
Um from the puppet, from him turning into the puppet and
mhm,
then like growing large and like from that being so dark
mhm,
to welcome to prime time bitch, which is like the slogan of Freddy Krueger,
mhm.
but that being in the comical world or
Right.
in the a more lighthearted, like it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
it's the
I can't
comic
feel.
relief kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how she would have done that. Like, how the fuck
Yeah.
did she
Why
do that
didn't
to
they
herself?
investigate that at
Right.
all? Lawrence Fishburne was just like, huh, all right, that checks.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't make that jump
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
perfectly. Like
yeah,
she would have just like busted her head on the side of one of those fucking
yeah.
big ass glass TVs.
Also, keep in mind, I have one
Yeah.
right here. That ain't
Yeah.
a little bit of glass. You
Yeah.
can't jump your head into that. So
But
yeah,
yeah, so how the fuck did that happen? Like the sleepwalking, I understand. He's a
right,
sleepwalker,
right.
but Freddy uses that to his advantage. Um, everybody at the end who dies off, fucking the drug addict and the wizard kid and
Mhm.
like what was their story for their funeral and shit? Like did she wake up like, oh, she OD'd, and
Mhm.
what happened to the wizard kid? He fell out of the chair, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know. It's just like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, their murders didn't
grounded.
they didn't have a real world ending to them.
Right.
But yeah, that wheelchair, ah, the wheelchair one is frustrating because, all right, cool, you're a wizard, whatever. They made him so nerdy that like I felt bad for him, and he's hitting Freddy with his like wizard powers or whatever.
Magical
Yeah,
thunderbolt,
yeah,
thunderbolt. Fucking
and but then like it's funny because Freddy's like, ah, and he's getting closer, and he's like, "Psych, bitch," and stabs
yeah.
him in the stomach.
Psych.
Like,
I wish yeah, like that's what they need in this,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
That's how comical some of these kills were, though.
right.
Like that's what I meant by like these build-ups to these like silly, silly
Right.
murders. But
Like that's one thing if going forward in a Freddy Krueger world is that I want to see like the dream death, but I want to see the real consequences to the death. Like, how do you explain fucking Glenn? He got eaten by a bed.
yeah,
How the fuck did that happen? We're
yeah.
gonna,
Where's your mom,
yeah,
Nancy?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. She got eaten by a bed too.
yeah.
Fucking like lazy writing,
Mhm.
But I just I like that because there's so much you can do with that. If you go into the dream and Freddy Krueger kills you in the dream, you die in real life. Okay, then how do you show that to be real? You know, and sometimes they hit the mark right. The Sleepwalker, you know, that's a perfect example of a real life consequence.
Mhm.
Freddy Krueger is killing him, but he's using that stuff to his advantage. And
Right.
I really like that. I just wish there was more of that. Like we would have seen,
Yeah.
okay, so he traps Joey, and now Joey is in a coma. There's a fiction, you know, it's like, no, he's,
Joey got the fucking essay written on
yeah.
his chest though. Come and get him, bitch, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Fucking like it's like was Nancy and not Bill Maher fucking standing there like looking and being like, you know, he's not really in a coma. He's like strapped to a bed with a titty woman's tongue and shit,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like no,
yeah.
no. He's in a coma, motherfuckers. But so like there's that give take in
Yeah.
this
I
movie specifically because this is where they really start ramping it up to the next one. So
yeah, I think that a lot of times with this movie you really focus on those kids, obviously, because they are a main focus of the movie, but you
the
start to
last of the
focus
Elm Street
on,
kids.
right, you start to focus on them and that aspect of the movie, but then you're not seeing the other aspect with the creepy professor guy that's too old for Nancy and
Not Bill
his
Maher.
story. Not Bill Maher, the other, the not Bill Maher guy. um yeah, yeah,
He looks like fucking Bill Maher.
he looks a little bit like Bill Maher, but he looks like a very young Bill Maher.
Like I
um
can't help but see it. I watched like some internet people talk about it, and then like my brain just saw Bill Maher the whole fucking
I
time, and
get
I'm
it.
like,
In
it's
his nose and in his eyes, he looks a little bit, and the hair from like when Bill Maher was younger.
right.
But him and Nancy's dad at the gray or
It was like a
junkyard,
rec yard, yeah, a
yeah,
junkyard.
junkyard, and then also Freddie's mom floating around the graveyard,
Sister Mary
in
Elizabeth or whatever her fucking
Mary
name was.
Helen or
Sister Mary
something,
Helen. Yeah.
and then also Amanda Kruger.
Yeah, Amanda
But
Kruger.
like you see all those aspects of the movie, and then it gets dark again after the laughable skeleton CGI where they fight the skeleton and he picks the sheriff up by his dick and throws him and kills him. uh
Yeah.
I don't know if that was supposed to be funny or not, but it was fucking hilarious. But
The skeleton or just him picking him up like
he
rah,
picked a dude up by the dick and threw him into a
in the
car that
car,
got him
right?
killed. But and then also you get that boiler room like hellscape area at the end of the movie.
Right.
All these things are super dark, they get super weird. um and I feel like it's almost two different movies. So like
Yes.
the front half of the movie is the kids, and then the second half is creepy Professor Bill Maher doing the stuff with Nancy's dad and trying to find the bones or whatever because of what Amanda said.
Word.
But it feels like two different movies.
Yes, it definitely does. I feel that there is the Patricia Arquette movie, and
Mhm,
then there is the Nancy Thompson movie.
mhm,
So Patricia Arquette by herself. If Nancy wasn't in this movie, like that's a perfect question. Do you think that without Nancy, okay, like because of Nightmare 2 being so different, they were like, no, 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 motherfuckers, get back on track.
mhm.
And so they had to put Nancy Thompson and they had to put John Saxton, and you know they had to remind you of all this stuff that happened in the first movie. Do you think that the with that like hindered just the Patricia Arquette, you know, mental institution kind of story?
I think the Patricia Arquette story should be three, and the back half of this movie should be four. I think they should have been two separate movies. I think And it's really easy to bring Nancy into the end of 3 and be like, well, what actually happened to you was it was Freddy Krueger. This is who he is. This is what I
Right.
know about him. He's still out there. And number 4, we're going to go handle him.
Right.
Um, that's the way ultimately that should have played out, because it really does feel like two separate movies.
Right.
Patricia Arquette's storyline could have just ended with, the kids get knocked off except for her, and Nancy tells her, and it moves into 4.
Right.
um
Like
but
right at the end, after like
right,
majority of
right,
those kids die,
right,
that's when Nancy walks
right,
in.
right, yeah, like
And like it's
right
just
before credits, like
yeah,
5 minutes before credits.
yeah, it's just that Bill Maher looking guy
Right.
and the mom from Carrie
Yeah.
are sitting there not believing, and the one guy's like,
Right.
"Well, I think I believe him a little
Carrie's
bit."
mom's a
And
bitch in every movie.
yeah,
But yeah.
but that's the one who's like, "I would like to give you $5."
Mhm.
And Carrie, but yeah, so that and then we just watch all the kids from the last of the Krueger kids, the last of the Elm Street kids start getting picked off, and then right at the end, like Van fucking Helsing, Nancy walks in's like, I know what's going on,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that would have worked way better than
Yeah.
like Nancy kind of being this like doctor.
Well, I don't even mind that aspect of it. I just
Oh, you
feel
don't?
like, no, I just feel like they both were smushed into the same movie. They didn't explore
Okay.
either one of them enough.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
equally strong ideas that they didn't get a chance to explore far enough.
Right.
They could have made 2 movies out of this one. Um, but they didn't, so whatever. I personally am more interested in the later half of this movie. The front half, again, is like these kids. I like the idea of Patricia Arquette being able to bring people into her dream. I like the idea of these kids having superpowers in their dreams, or whatever, because some
Hmm.
of them just didn't choose a superpower, which is fucking weird. I'm invincible in my dreams. Did anybody think of that one? Anyways, so the second half is the thing that I like. I like that we get more backstory. I
Yeah.
like that Freddy's mom is like a nun that's trying to help put an end to Freddy. I like that the dad is a drunkard now, and the professor gropes him up a little bit, forgetting that he's a fucking sheriff, and you don't
Yeah,
put
it's
your
like,
hands on a small town
motherfucker, I can
sheriff,
take you to
you
jail
jackass.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but I liked all that. It found it more interesting. And even though in number 2 they take this weird turn and go a different route, that's the proper turn to take. Like, if you're going to go down a different route with Freddy, of apart from the front half of this movie,
Right.
then they did the proper turn. They
Right.
made the proper turn, and they made it about Freddy, and they made it more about like more information, more backstory, more Freddy things than in number 2, where they were just like, this kid might be Freddy, or he might be
Yeah.
having a mental breakdown. We're not really sure, and we're not
Right.
going to tell you either.
Mm.
So it's like,
Yeah. They
eh,
explore what Freddy Krueger can do. I
right.
mean, like be possess, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so, but yeah, I definitely like that. I think it would have been better in 2 if they would have had Jesse as a sleepwalker. Like, oh yeah, I suffer, like, I see him taking pills, and like, yeah, he suffers from sleepwalking. So therefore Freddy can, marionette that motherfucker just like in 3. Like that's where I'll always go back to that marionette scene, because that's, I think, is
It's a very good scene.
probably one of the best ones that's dark, not one of the ones that's funny,
Mhm.
Welcome to prime time, bitch. Let's
Right.
get high.
Yeah.
Those are more in the comical trickster. The dark is getting your fucking veins cut out and then being puppeted around by a giant Freddy Krueger.
I think that instead of number 2, they should have made the front half of this movie.
Yeah.
I could go without Jesse and the possession route. I think that if they would have taken Patricia Arquette and these kids and
Mm,
made them number two and then made the back half number three, then this would have worked perfectly. And then we can go into four and five if we need to.
yeah.
But I think that that would have made this series a very, very strong, it would have made this series stronger than it is, because that one off of number two is very random. This is very smushed together. It's two separate movies smushed together. And then four and five are lackluster. They're not
Right.
lackluster. They're just,
We'll get
they're
to him.
less.
So,
Yeah, yeah. They're
but
okay. Yeah.
I think as a progression of the story, if you would take number two and put that like at number five, so Freddy Krueger's been
Yeah, that makes sense.
fucking, he's the Patricia, the Kids of Elm Street story has been just wearing Freddy Krueger so thin that by the time we get to number five, which would be Jesse's story, where nobody remembers Freddy Krueger,
Mhm.
the only way for Freddy Krueger to keep doing what he needs to do is
Freddy
by
versus Jason.
him. Yeah, exactly. The idea of Freddy versus Jason, it's just that he's going to use this
Jesse
kid
to
instead of,
scare. Yeah.
right, right. And that would have been the perfect send off. Like that
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how you continue Freddy Krueger, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I
Um
think that that would have been what was best. But that's not what happened. So,
no.
did, are you satisfied with the idea of them finding the bones and needing to bury the bones? Like, was that all good for you? Because it was good for me.
I think you write this strong ass character and you go, "Well, how do we stop him?" And the writers around the table are like, um and then they're like, holy water and the bones of, I think the idea of finding like where they buried the body of like Fred Krueger, the parents and stuff,
Mhm.
I
Right.
think that's a good idea. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It puts us into reality and stuff. It's just like when he's when they're sprinkling that holy water, and in the dream Freddy Krueger's got a light show and he's like spinning around in circles and shit. That's kind of goofy. But the bones
Right.
themselves, like going back to like purify Fred Krueger's
Mhm.
like unmarked grave. Yeah, that's probably, like, yeah, that's how you defeat him, like,
I think that it basically is doing what other movies have done. It's just fighting evil with good.
right,
You know what I mean? Like, it's The Exorcist. You're fighting this demon with the power of God,
right.
essentially. You go put him in a holy graveyard and it'll stop the demon, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
you're
mean,
exorcising Freddy out of both worlds and making him move on,
mhm.
seemingly. Um, but
It just makes the idea, because Robert Shea after the third one, after the second one, I guarantee Robert Shea was sitting there going, "No, we're not killing Freddy Krueger off."
mm,
And them going, "Well, then why in the middle of the story do we have to kill Freddy Krueger off in the movie and shit? If
mm,
oh, there's going to be a four, five, six, because these things are just going to keep making money."
mm.
Because it would have been great to, like, right at the end, like Freddy's like, "No, that shit don't work." Like, oh,
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of
okay.
half of what I expected. Like, haha, bitch, psych, I
Yeah.
didn't die at all instead.
They
So, like,
even tried
like,
holy water.
yeah, yeah.
Fucking, but
But
yeah.
yeah, I think that I I don't know. I really like it. I like that part of the movie a little bit more. I think it's more stronger, and I think it's more Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street based
Yeah.
than the front half of this movie. The front half of this movie feels very much like, and don't get me wrong, I like that part of the movie as well. It's like I said, super creative way to bring in a fight against Freddy.
Hmm.
But I'm more in tune to find out more and see where the backstory is, especially because you're on
Yeah.
number three now
Yeah.
and you're coming off of number two going, what the fuck just happened? So the more story you get out of it, the better.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it is what
Uh,
it is.
what did you think of Freddy's voice in this one? Because
I
this one, he has a definitely higher pitched voice.
yeah, they in the first one they really affected his voice. They relied
To
on his
book it
voice.
real low.
They relied on his voice and then also a pitch adjustment. So it's like dual layered.
Yeah.
For the second one, he didn't talk a ton, so I don't really remember. In this one,
No.
they relied more on his original voice, his actual voice.
The
And
the actor Robert England's and shit.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then like didn't really tone it down like they did before, like in the first one where it's like almost double layered.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that it works and doesn't work. I think it makes him more real. Like this is a real thing that we're having to deal with. And I think it makes him more of also something that you can hopefully defeat.
Yeah.
Because when you draw out this voice and he's cutting his own fingers off and shit like that, like in the first one, he seems like he's unstoppable. At this juncture, he feels like maybe there's something to it. And I think that
Right.
that's what
Right.
the second half does. It's like, when they pull, like in Freddy vs. Jason, when they pull him into the real world and he starts getting pieced up by Jason, you see him as more of a something that can be handled
Yeah.
versus something, an entity that you can't do anything about.
Yeah. I know, like, I like when he's the worm and like Nancy, he sees Nancy for the first time, and like they don't have the puppet down, so they can't make him like word the
Right.
words you,
Yeah.
but you can hear it, and that was good. But then on the opposite side of the coin was I said, "Where's the fucking bourbon, bitch?" And like, and
Yeah.
then he cuts the mom's head off.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Holy shit!" Fucking did he like inhale fucking helium there
Yeah.
almost? Like he just doesn't. It doesn't seem. It's a great line, but it doesn't
Yeah.
seem creepy, and it just seems
Well,
annoying.
they did it to the Welcome to Primetime bitch.
Right.
But it's weird that they
Welcome to Prime
affect.
Time's not that bad though. It's
No,
pretty good.
but I'm saying it's like deeper than the rest of
Right.
them. It's more adjacent to number one. But even it isn't as deep, but they go there. And I think again, they're relying on Robert England's ability to manipulate his voice instead of manipulating his voice for him.
Yeah, I think in the next couple of ones, that's where they start saturating and detuning his voice to help him. But yeah, this one just feels like he's going, "Where's the
Yeah.
fucking bourbon,
Yeah.
bitch?" Fucking but yeah, like um, the
That
worm.
was just a sound bite from Robert England on set
Mhm.
yelling at a
Yeah, the
PA.
fucking catering.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can put fucking salt in his food,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah. Anything else you want to get into? I mean, I think
No,
we covered it.
I mean, it's an incredible movie.
It's a great movie. It
And,
is.
I know that the
Is
first
it the
one,
best one?
see, that's what I was going to say. I know the first one is is technically the best. Okay, so that's how I'll put it. Number one's the best. Number three is my favorite.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
See, like I
I
find,
wear my black Nightmare on Elm Street hat all the time. I put this one on for special occasions.
oh,
So like,
fucking like I like them all, kind of. But I will say this one pays, that nostalgia, that hits all its right marks kind of deal.
mhm,
Is it my favorite story? No. Is it my like eh, but it's just a tight knit movie. There's a lot in it.
Right. Well, yeah,
but
they packed two movies into one movie,
they packed
so
two movies into one movie. Correct.
there is no like long sit down. I think
Right.
Nancy talking to her dad before her boyfriend beats the sheriff up. I think that that is the longest period of just sitting and talking
Yeah.
outside of like the group shit before the actual, but that you have to do that to set up. So,
Right. Right. It's just some good moments. Like, and I mean, Nancy's like, even her death, it's like, okay, we know you want to be wrote out of these. You want to Jamie Lee Curtis yourself. It's
mhm.
like, I got more potential in a television show right now.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, go do
eh,
True Lies and come back to us when you're fucking ready to make some money.
yeah, we can definitely, like, Nancy will always be like, it's her forever. Like, Jason doesn't have that. Like,
No, he
you
doesn't
could say
have
Tommy
a final.
Jarvis, but
Technically, Tommy could be a final girl
right,
for
but
Jason, but yeah,
well, Tommy is, but because they chose, what, three different actors for Tommy
yeah,
compared to Nancy,
right,
Heather Langenkamp, you
right,
know, it's that image of Heather and Freddie together will
right.
always
Well,
be
also
there.
the promotional stuff from the first one, where they like Freddie's got his arm around her,
Right.
like all those, like they promoted the shit out of those two together. So when she wanted to get written out, fine, whatever, we'll go a
Yeah.
different route. It sucks, but it's Nev Campbell to Scream. Like you
Right.
think Nev Campbell to Scream, you don't think Jenna Ortega and whoever the hell that other girl is.
Right.
So like but
Man, it would have been so great in Freddy versus Jason. If a van pulls up and it's fucking Nancy Thompson, and you think you killed
she's
me,
dead.
motherfucker.
She's dead though.
Yeah, but no, she faked it and
No,
shit
she's dead.
to fool
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger. This is
The
fucking
only
Hollywood.
reason
You can
the
you
only
can pull
reason
out
they were
a
able to
million
bring her
Terminators.
back was because they had to bring her back as Heather Langenkamp. Like that's the only way they could bring her back.
And we'll talk about that one on our next. No,
No, no,
not
no,
on
no.
our next
We
one.
got a little ways
We
before
got a
we get
little
to that one.
ways. Correct, correct.
All right.
Jacob, you're gonna go see this in the theater?
Ah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Cult classic.
Yes.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Even under my definition, but I understand
Your definition doesn't exist
the
because you don't
definition of
just
it.
make up
So
words
I'm
for
I'm
things that
going
already have
to say
definitions.
yes, yes.
Yeah, good.
Uh, Physical copy.
Yeah, yeah. I got a couple.
Once more. It's pointless to say, but yeah, I got a bunch of them.
Yeah. I
And
also
yeah, and remake of this.
no, I think they should leave it alone.
Once more, leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah.
So
I nah, yeah, just leave it alone.
no, leave it alone. Leave it the
Yeah,
fuck alone.
yeah.
What's the
I agree.
point?
I agree.
You you can sit there and do the same story and you can do whatever, but is it gonna be as good? You
No,
know?
because the kids are gonna have to be like it's gonna have to be like safe space and like, oh, this kid did too much Adderall and this kid like got
No, I
bullied,
will say that
like this kid
mental
got
illness, like that's another thing we didn't talk about, but I really like this. You can tack this on wherever you want, but I'm gonna say I am so glad in the Freddy Krueger franchise that they really truly tackle teenage mental illness and
but here's the
how
thing though, in this movie they just kept telling everybody they were mentally ill when they weren't.
right they were prescribing. I mean, it shows the healthcare system
And
being
this is the first
complete
time we
fucking
hear
jokes.
about Trimisil or whatever the
Yeah,
drug medicine is.
yeah, to stop dreams, but
Yeah,
it's good. But you have drug use, OD, you
yeah,
have suicide, you have all of these. I mean, you're not going to touch on this shit with the Jason kids.
that's true.
Jason kids are going to fucking do drugs, fucking drink, party, have a great time. That's what Jason Voorhees movies are about.
Yeah,
But Freddy Krueger movies are truly a movie about mental illness and how normal people deal with mental illness wrong.
yeah. I think that's a good, perfect way to end it.